So welcome to the workshop, Processing, Describing, and Accessing Theater Records, Principles and Practice. My name is Ana Maria Jugic-Boric. I am the chair of the working group Theatralia, which is dedicated to studying theater and performing arts in the context of digital humanities and digital technologies. And as you may already know, this workshop is one of the several organized in the frame of our two-year project titled Performing Arts Transitioning to the Digital Age and financed from the DARIAH-EU funds. Today, I will serve more as a coordinator, technical assistant, and also a participant of this workshop, but its leader will be Vlatka Lemic, professor from the University of Zagreb in Croatia. And a quick important note, this workshop is being recorded and the goal is to make the recording available to the members of the working group who were unable to attend today. And with your consent, it is possible that at some point a summary of the workshop or maybe the entire recording will be published on an educational platform such as DARIAH Campus, but you will be notified if this happens. Nothing will happen without your consent. So Vlatka will tell you more about the schedule and the agenda of the workshop, but before giving the floor to Vlatka, I would like to say a few words about her to give you the context of who is today's leader of the workshop. So Assistant Professor Vlatka Lemic, PhD, works at the University of Zagreb as head of archival office. She's an archival counselor as well as a professor at the Archival Studies Department of the University of Zagreb. She's actively engaged in various international projects and initiatives in the field of information and archival sciences, culture, and digital humanities. For example, Creative Europe, Erasmus+, DARIAH, Archival Education and Research Initiative, Time Machine Organization, and so on. She's also the Vice President of ICARUS, President of ICARUS Croatia, member of the International Council of Archives EURBICA. She's a Time Machine Ambassador and a member of the Europeana Advisory Board. And Vlatka, now I will give the floor to you.
Okay. So thank you very much, and very sorry for this late, since I was really coming from the other part of the city to be here, at least with Ana Maria live. I'm very sorry that all of you are not live, because I very much enjoyed this roundtable discussion that we start, which was really quite good introduction to this workshop. I hope one of many, in the case that you will find some interest to carry on and to go to more practical, because the first time will be unfortunately more theoretically than practically, but there are really many opportunity to go abroad, and I would really like very much to be interactive as much as we can be also in this form. And you are really very welcome to ask in any time, give me a stop, ask question of your interest, give us a hint, give us example, because it was really, would be very appreciating to see also for me how you see archives and explore archives. I try to, I use materials that we usually do in our archival teaching at university. Also, some of materials I have to thank Professor Anne Gilliland. She's professor of UCLA, and since it is in English, I use some of her material that she also used. We will try to adjust this topic as much as we can for somebody who not come primarily from archival profession, but exactly of this, it's very welcome that you all participate and that you all our journey to the hope. But you don't see the second one. So we have
yes, editing in PowerPoint. Maybe stop sharing and reshare.
Okay, so sorry, we will reshare. We will reshare. I think I have to do this. I think insert a slideshow and this. I think.
Please let's start sharing.
No. So, screen in Anna Maria's, do you see and share the material?
Okay, yes. I think everything is fine now. Do you all see the first slide?
Not.
Yes.
Yes, and
okay.
hopefully second slide.
Yes, yes.
So, introduction to archives world from somebody from the archives to somebody who is maybe not so much into the archives. So archive as a name archive or meaning of the archives, it's quite complex. When somebody says archives, people usually mean either the institution that collects archival material. Term archives is also used for the building. Archives is also used, as you know, maybe in your institution also, where the place or administrative units where you put old papers which are not more used or which are no more welcomed. And also term is used for archival material as well. So this term archives is seen from various points. Word archives is used from various points. It has really broad meaning, as much as archival community, also outside archival community also. In Croatia, in some countries, we have different terms for archive as a building or institution and archival material. In some countries, in English language also, archives is a term used for archival material or various collection or institutions as much as others. Also, in archival community, we distinguish a nature of archives. Today, and for your context, for people who, for example, come from performing arts or from special branches or from special sector, there is quite much important term is special archives. In our archival community, we use term special archives as distinction of public archives or archives which are part or archival networks, public archive networks services, which have quite a different scope of activities from those of special archives who are driven by their founders. It can be institution, it can be private person or private entity. So these archives have some different issues and some different scope of activities than public archives or state archives. Also, today is very common to speak about community archives. Community archives is something new that we are seeing in archival world in the last decade. This community archives is usually in Anglo-Saxon world distinguished type of archives which is driven from community. It can be in some villages, spaces. It can be driven by, I don't know, some association or just some minority people or thematically driven. In Southeast Europe, there are not so much community archives, or they are tried to be and seen, especially from NGOs, but there are all various types of archives that you have to be aware that when we speak about archives, and also when you speak about archives, it is not the same from what type of institution you came and what is, as I have to say, your specialization. For all involved in archival work, it is very important to have some sense about International Council of Archives, which is our global association, and where you can usually find some, not just basic standards for today's case, the standards for description, which will be the main topic of this workshop, is also came from this resource from International Council of Archives. But also, if you want to see what is new in the community, what is now actual topics, what is issues that archival community dealing with, also to find out something about digitization in archives, digital record keeping, facing new technologies is one of the issues which is very actual in archival world for almost 2 decades now. Issues regarding preservation and access. So this is the place where you will see and find out what it is here. Also, for all working in archives or have something to do in archives, it is very important to know something about Universal Declaration or archives, which is really like personal card of the archival community, and which really very face describe what is the main activities on archives, what is the main mission of archives, and why archives are important for society and global. To see how archival world is different and complex today, I just give you this example of current sections which are operating inside International Council of Archives. So you see there are many topics and there are many issues. You see there are some special issues regarding, for example, religious archives or architectural archives or business archives, of artistic archives or municipal archives or sport archives or political parties archive or university archives or research archives. So some issues, some principles are basic for all type of archives, but also there are some different issues and different topics which are more or less important or relevant for various types of archives. For archives of performing arts, we are speaking here about Theatralia archives. I think the one of the most important or most relevant places for you to consult will be literary and artistic archive section. For example, they have many activities going on. One of latest was they made a register of diasporic literary archives. They are now also involved in making some register of artistic archives, but also all other types of archives can maybe be of interest of people or artists or professionals coming from this performing arts sector. Some basic things when we are dealing with archival records, coming from archival records, what is the main business of archives? And this is dealing with records and managing of records and materials. We also have some different terms and some different basic points where we discussing these issues. Basic archival unit for us is archival records. It can be, as you see, set as some kind of definition that it can be all type of forms and media works of legal or office nature created in course of some activities or administrative processes that are used as evidence or proof. Then we distinguish something which is from other provenance. This is personal papers, which is also materials that can be used in many archives. So besides administrative record, personal papers include letters, diaries, photographies, recordings, any type that is made by persons, by people, probably in theaters. I presume there is lots of this type of material can be found in your collections or in your holdings. Then we also distinguish purpose of records and what is the primary or secondary use. When somebody creates a record, and we see some of examples, I was following a little bit when it was this lecture by Professor Strelac last time, I think. So didn't manage to be all the time here, but I, for example, see something that he was showing on his platform, and I see that there are many records that he's referring on, which goes to this first type of records, and this is something what is actual work in your theater. For example, you are planning the when you are playing the performance on play, you have contracts with many people involved, you have some financial budget, you have maybe some schedules for recordings, for for first show, second show, you will have many sketches or some materials, and this is also something that will be in this first category of official records, which are connected with this play, and which actually have some evidence that this is actually realized, that this is implemented, that you will maybe need of proof to find out that you really use it. So this is this type of records. You may also see have the records from this second category of personal paper. If some director or actor have some diaries or some sketches regarding his involvement in this show, or somebody will take a picture, or somebody will take the sketches, or I don't know what. It can also be directed for some play, and it will be from this second category. Also, we distinguish the type of material which we called archives. Not all material which are produced in your work or in work in any institution are not put into category archives or archival record. Archival record usually is something that is worth for their long-term preservation, which is important, which is unique, which have some added value, which is of some permanent character. For example, maybe, I don't know, some bill for tickets isn't very important or necessary, or doesn't have any additional meanings, but some photography taken from the show can have some significance or meaning or deeper context or additional value, information value, documentary value, administrative value, or any type of value. And basically what we call archives is those that we are choose, or somebody who collect material choose for permanent preservation. Okay, let me see. This is some of illustrations for those that are called archives, how it can look like in archival storages or working with archival material. It comes to different in different formats, and you can see archival storages or archival material came in different format, and it's shown in different format. So all these came to category of archives. Why records are important for us as archivists, and what we see in this record, and why we are focused on their creation. So all the records have some basic characteristics that is important from us as archivists, and as archivist or somebody who is in the activities of collecting or preserving material need to be familiar with. Every record has its naturalness, impartiality, authenticity, and uniqueness. So this is some of categories which are important for us when we decide what we classified as archival material, or which records are important for long-term preservation and will be archival material, or those which are not. So instead of reading this for you. Maybe this will be the first stop for me to ask you, did you ever meet some of these characteristics? Do you have maybe examples? Did you ever think in this category when you collect or work with the records that you choose? Nobody will ask anything. Oh, there is something in the chat. Okay.
That was just a word we couldn't remember.
Okay. So from archival point of view, or for people who custodians of collections of material, this is, as I already told, some important characteristics when we choose what will be collected and what will be seen as archival material or records that we want to collect, manage, preserve, or work with in order to present our activities of some institution or activities of some organization of record creator, or something that we want to provide for future. Uniqueness is maybe one of the characteristic of archival record or archival material, which is something that usually firstly people refer to, because as different from library material, archival records are usually unique. So when somebody make some document, it's usually one of the kind. You don't have it in triples or 50 copies or 10 copies, although some materials, posters, как се каже, playbills, or catalogs, or also some materials came in few numbers, although then for us from the archives, these differences in this, they are not created with the intention to be publicly, they are created with intention to be publicly disseminated, but they will not be multiplied in the future. They are usually some basic production of this material related to some event, some play, or I don't know, whatever work activity that is done in the institutions. And usually they document some event or some occasion, and this is their primary function, to document some event, and their primary function are not to be mass produced. So this is how we choose these materials. And also authenticity, it's very much important also for all archival record, because it is important, and this is the basic precondition, that some document can be seen or used as evidence in administrative and legal sense. If you cannot prove that this document is authentic, for example, if you have signed document with signature of some people, if you cannot prove that it is authentic, then you will probably couldn't use it in some legal matters. Also, what is further on? Okay. Okay. Second step, which is directed with records, are metadata. Metadata, usually data about data, or elements that we use to describe this record, is also those which are connected with these records. So we usually, in process of management these records, we need some data or some elements that will be designed and created and used to describe with this record, with all the entities, with all the elements we used to use it for described. Also, we have different types of metadata, also depending on purpose of this data meta. Record-keeping metadata are usually made from those who create records, basically on administrative purposes. So all the public institutions, public creations, they have their record-keeping systems, they have the list of their official documents, and this is the way to prove all these characteristics. Then we have something which is called archival descriptions. These kind of descriptions are made in archives. So after archives collect some material, or other institutions that collect some material, we have some standard for archival description, and we use them to make finding aids or catalog. And then we use these finding aids and catalog for further use of these records. And also archives can create various other types of metadata, which is shown today. You probably use it, or also use it or browse it when you use the documents for various digital platforms, digital repositories, databases, virtual exhibitions. So today all various type of metadata can be exist, or various type of metadata can be used for description of same records or same fonts or collections, and all depends what is the purpose for what we want to use it. Okay, this part of record keeping metadata is not maybe so much important here for you, but for those who are who have in his in institutions who held holding which are connected with some theaters as institutions, then you will have this type of data. So if you have the font which is made and which is about how some theater is existing, what was here official doing, what was here, I don't know, who were employees, how was it functioning, what were their report, financial report, the report about their activities. So this type of, for describing this type of records, you will use something from this category, record-keeping metadata. And other hand, coming in the world of metadata, this is three features that we are dealing with when we are dealing with metadata. This is three basic pictures that all metadata must provide. We want in metadata to provide information about content, about context, and about structure. Content is usually that seem the easiest part, and usually when I see various virtual collections and various platforms that I see, usually they are focused on the content. And they say this record or this object is dealing with this, this, and this, and you provide some content. It can be a form of the text, or it can be a forms of some entries. And this is something that is widely spread. Context is something which is very important for the archives, and which you will find in archival world, in archival institution, on in platforms or information system made from archives. But unfortunately, you will find it elsewhere, and this is what is missing. So what is context? Context is describing how some records are created, which institution created, was it some special occasion, or is it regular activities, who is the author of some document, what is the relation with other records or documents. So context is basically all about this record, and those which are not maybe seen from content of the record itself, but with context you put the record in the wider picture, and you connect it with other records. And structure is also something that unfortunately we miss outside the archival world, because structurally is some formal set of association which some information object with connect also with other types of objects. For example, the easiest way when you can find this, if somebody of you browse through archival platforms and you see something that is called here, and then you can see something which is, I don't know, list of materials on series of some materials, and then you will make the list and 100 names will be under it. So if you see some records as a unit of records and you put it in some structure of the records, this is what will give you some additional which will give some additional information and additional value for you. This is also the point when it will be very nice if somebody give me some hint back of this. If somebody has example or can relate it with something from his holdings or his material or note. And also other issues that are also must be seen as we speak of archival description and what we want to achieve with these descriptions is now something came from archival world itself. In the past, archival description was more focused on content and structure than on content. For you, for those usually from these researchers or curators came from special archives or institutional archives or academic archives, for you the content is usually much more important and the focus is on content. Archival world in the past was much more focused on content and structure, so we will never go so deep in the content of the record, but we will go on context and structure, and we will put somebody on the bigger picture. Let me put it in this way. But from today's point of view, and especially from possibilities that are allowed from using of technology, we can really combine all these three elements, context, structure, and content, to provide it with better information and better reuse of records. You usually see this in practice when you are going on some portal or database and you see the browsing, and usually you see one possibility for search. You type the word, then you show something is shown, some results are shown, or on the other case you can combine some which is called advanced search, and then you can combine, I don't know, name or year or type of record or institution or digital material or something else. So basically this, what you see in practice for browsing and for searching, all these elements came from these three basic structures: context, content, and structure. So having in mind all these materials, this is what will be used, and this will be create the metadata or elements that are used for description as well for searching and browsing the material. The other issue also, it is very clear for archivists, but maybe not so much for those who are not dealing very much with archives. There is usually no single metadata standard that can be used for all types of fonts or collections and materials. So although there are basic standards, for example, in archival world, this is isag that we are dealing with, we also use other standards regarding specification of materials or collections that we have to describe. For example, you can use, if you are describing art or maps, you will use some additional element of description that you are not used for records in general. For describing audiovisual material, for describing photography, for describing various type of record or digital material, digitally born material, or social network today, you will use other type of elements which are needed for some type of materials. Also, for describing some type of collection, you will use some data or some elements that are used for these specifics. For example, if we are going in theatrical world, what can be important for you regarding one play or collection and institution? I don't know, name of directors, name of actors, everybody who work on scenario, how long is the play going on, or which technique was used for recording, or some other elements that cannot be found in standard metadata formats, but it'll be additional for you. And all these additional types of elements, you will usually find it in some thematic portals. Examples of thematic portals, it can be seen, for example, if somebody of you is familiar with Mapire, which is portal for cadastral maps. They have specific types of descriptive elements which cannot be found in another type. Or, for example, register books, which are the most used material in archive. They have some additional also element, which is maybe important for this type of material, not for some other. And you are very welcome, all archivists or all curators who work with describing and arranging material are very welcome to choose from these standards and tools which is best situated and which are best work in your environment and for your collections. The only issue here and the only guidelines here is that you use some international or professional standards, not to make something on your own, because what will be happen if you decide to do your own metadata standard or your own description? Probably it won't be interoperable with any other standard, and you will lose the opportunity to collect this data or this description with other databases, with other portals, to transfer this data and to connect it with other. From broader pictures, not from the archival world, but if we are speaking in the framework of cultural heritage issues or from GLAM point of view, you can see Europeana as one of interdisciplinary portal which collect material of different provenance. You can find archival records here, you can find library material, you can find objects, you can find photos, you can find anything. And data are aggregated on such platforms. Data aggregated or descriptions aggregated on these platforms came from various portals, came from various standards, and they used some required standard to aggregate materials. But if your data or material or descriptive data doesn't work with these standards, you won't be able to share your data or to reuse it or to use your data in any other portal. So basically, the only guidelines here is to use some of referable standards or professional standards. And if you improve it or additionally then add your elements that you need for some specific purpose. Something then about description of access. Processing and arrangement is something when archive and other institutions collect some material, you have to do on processing and arrangement. So this is basically the precondition to provide or to produce some description of this material and these records. So there are two terms that I use. I put here both of you, processing and arrangement of well, because somebody use it as similar terms, but they are not similar, there are related terms. So the one is some intellectual and physical process, and processing is quite broad and also is quite much involved with physical work on material, enable, I don't know, good precondition, put it on shelf, physical work as well. There are three basic principles for archivists when dealing with processing and arrangement of material. This is all these three. One is respect the font, one is provenance, and one is original order, which is actually a core of archival work. So how to explain it in a few minutes for those who are not maybe familiar with archival materials. They have long tradition. This is something which was in the core of archival science and as different of librarianship and curatorship. And this is something which is very much also is in terms today. I put here some also history of how these principles derived and when they were put into practice, although don't think it's important for you, but since I will share this material for those who will find it useful, you can find it. The basic principle for us today is something called the provenance, and this is something that all working in archives have to share and to deal with. And this is when we decide about provenance of the records, and this is how we decide basically where to put some records in what documentary unit, in which ward or in which collection. For us, the basic guidelines here will be the provenance of the records, which is usually connected with record creation. So basically, who is the author or who is the record creator is something that decide where this record or how it will be physically put in which documentary or archival unit. We have one very basic rule in archives, and this is that all material that are created by same author, it can be the institution, it can be personal author, or it can be legal entity, they have to be put together and they have to create a unit, the organic unit. So this is basic principles and all this. And we will make our units, our fonts and collections according to this principle. And basically there are no mixed materials. So we won't use the criteria or type of material or I don't know, thematic criteria, which were used before this principles was involved. We will use this criteria that all materials created by one creator should be preserved and described as a whole. Then this is also something about this provenance and why this was to choose and why this was put in the core archival principles and in archival theory. Why this provenance over many other criteria that could be involved? There are even today institutions, especially archival collections, and institutions who collect some documents or material that are driven by different criteria, not provenance. They collect or organize material according to their interest. For example, if I have the interest, I don't know, in postcards or women writers from 17th century or Latin script, I don't know, from 16th century, I will just gather materials of this type. This is how usually collectors do, or where people choose to collect some material according to their interest. And for collector, it can work. For organizing archival material and for managing archival material, it's very difficult, not very difficult, but impossible to put it in practice, because I can ask you the basic question, as I usually ask my students. If you put material or some record in one category, for example, I don't know, women writers or geographic criteria, Zagreb, whatever, what about million other information that are also stolen in this record? You will distinguish this material from more other category. So archivists are try to find some most objective way how to make materials they collect and preserve to be most objective and not thematically or subjectively driven. If you use this criteria, which is very objective, you will then be able, with various types of description and metadata, to put this record in as much category as you want, to provide as much additional data as you want. And in the same way, the physical documents will be stored and put and basically described as one documentary unit or one organic whole. So this is basically what is in these provenance types. We can speak about functional provenance. We can speak about information provenance. Also, provenance is something which is very clear, as you see here, when we are dealing with administrative record and official records. If we are going in personal papers or in word of collections, then this provenance principle will cannot be realized as in this world. And then you can here have some different criteria for describing or organizing some material. Original order. This principle of original order basically means that archivists will try to respect the same order as record creator put the elements in, if there are any. For example, if somebody organized their records according to yearly criteria, you group your records every year and put it like this, you will try to go with this. If you have some other criteria, for example, you organize it by some thematic principle, or by how your units work or something else, you will try to keep it as much as the same is according to original. Of course, if you cannot reconstruct what record creator means, or you find it that for your purpose of institutions that collect or store these materials, there are some other much more practical or much more usable, find a way, then can be also described and arranged. And of course, it is important that those who work on this material give the clear information what he do with this material and why he choose to do it, like to choose it. You usually see it in private papers. You see it with dealing with correspondence. It can be really listed in many ways. Somebody do it alphabetically, somebody do it by countries, somebody can do it in time schedule. So same type of material can be processed and described in different ways. But this is why it's very important that those who do this describing and who do this processing, that he will put the information about I'm decide to do it in this way, and then to do it uniquely in the same way all the time. Not to put 10 documents in one way and 10 documents in another way. So the basic principle is when you choose some way what you will do with your documentation, do it, be concise and do it in the same way for all the time. The same issues here, especially what we will see, and especially I think what will be something that you will face in your collection, in your material, because I see it many of these in film archives and audiovisual archives and in non-archival institution, how people usually modify original order, that photographies or material which is in different format or in different media are usually put away or taken in some other place. Basically, this was physical recognition. For example, photography, you have to find, I don't know, much more cooler repository than for the papers. Or if you put papers in one boxes and you, I don't know, have posters which are much more bigger, then you will put it on the other way, and then it's you will choose some other criteria. So basically, there are no right way to do it. You can really use it according to what is best suited for some documentary unit or for some type of material. But the idea is to put some consistency in it. As much as I see not so many in theatrical archives, but I see, as I told you, many film archives. Usually I noticed two main way how they proceed material. One way is the main criteria about arranging and processing material is film. So you have listed all the films that you are, I don't know, keep in these film archives, and then you put according to this criteria about film, all material about one film, you put it in one archival unit. So you will have, I don't know, film tapes, posters, sessions, photographies, all materials, I don't know, regarding to some film. The criteria will be film. Others use it, they make separate collections according to physical type of material. So for example, they have series, a collection of posters, collection of photographs, collection of scenarios, collection of book sprigs, collection of, I don't know, photographies or something like that. So if you choose one or other criteria, you can describe it on the item level on the same way, and with additional data or additional descriptive element, when you search it, you can then virtually collect all this material regardless of what is the physical way that you choose to organize your collection. So then we came to the next step, and this is archival units and what is the level of our arrangement and work. So when we are speaking about archival description, we archivists speak about some units of description. This is usually a record or document, or for us, it can be group of records. Or I don't know, I think in library terms, they speak about collection level description. So everything can be unit, font, subfont, series, file, or document, or anything else. But this is why we have to first provide basic unit, and this is font or collection. So all the material which is in some institution, regardless is it archival institution or library or special archives or research archive or documentation center on institute on theater, you will have first step will be to create fonts and collections. You will choose some collection of documents, some group of record. You will name it font or you will name it collection. And this is the first structure of your archives. And then you will, first description will be in this level. So you will first describe it as a whole. And you will provide information important and for this whole. And then you will go with hierarchy on deeper levels. You will then make smaller units in this big whole, and then you will describe each unit with additional element which is connected with this whole of material. Basically, the definition of archival description is create of accurate representation of unit of description and its part. This is the definition that you will find in international standard of archival description. So all this material can be provided, and there are no point to analyze it now. Actually, about description, to speak about description, I think it can be maybe useful for you, because description is the key element for every collection and every material, every collected material, the key of its preservation and the key for their use and usability and further use, and find the users or whatever you want to do with material is description. So description is the key element here. Usually, basically, it is intellectual activity. To describe some records or unit of records or group of records, you have to analyze it, you have to organize it, you have to find all information which are relevant to these units and whole. For example, how you collect it, who give it to your institution, who create it, which is the time frame in which this group of records are start. Are there any specifics important regarding this group of record, or anything that is important for creation of these records, for management, and for further use of this record? And then description is process when you usually will create metadata and choose metadata you will use for these records. Okay, there are many definition of archival description, and the process is which involved how to find all the relevant data regarding this material. And the focus is, as I've told you, on provenance and original order, on these principles that are important for archivists. Also, which is very important to know, this can be dynamic process. So, for example, if you have some collection to describe, I don't know, collection of posters or flyers or photography, you will maybe add 10 new photography each month. So you will have to arrange all this description all the time and to process new element and make new collection. So if some font and collection is open and the documents are still collecting and making, this will be the process that you will have to go and additionally arrange your description and your information all the time. You will choose on collective level this material and also on other level. You will have to find, which is basically for all those working in archives, you will describe material in one way according to these standards and according to these archival principles. All the users usually find it another way. Usually came to you, and also very similar probably to those when you search some data portals, you find some topic. You are interested in some concrete issue, in some concrete query. You, I don't know, are interested in person or in subject or in topic or in title or in something. You won't find all these elements maybe in description on all the levels, but this is why you have to understand what about this group of record and how to transfer these pages to this material. Archivists also have the problem when they describe materials, because it is not the same as you describe the book or some materials in libraries or in museums, because in archives materials or records usually don't have the title. They don't have official title. So you have to give the title to the document or the record you are describing. Photographies doesn't have title if the author didn't give them title. Documents or posters or even records creator, correspondence, letters, they don't have the official titles or diaries, but you have to provide the title for this. Although you have to collect all these materials, although you will have to find out also and to find beside title and author or some other materials information you don't have all the time, you will find for some categories very important to provide information about physical levels. For example, if you have audiovisual records, you will have to define, for example, length of the tape or length of the recording. Is it 10 minutes or 50 minutes or even in kilometers? I know that Croatian Cinematheque have in kilometers this length of the records. Then you will find for something that is made of many volumes to find a way how to make a connection between whole and the items. Then you will have to find to connect various documents with various business processes, usually to have it to put it in context to have additional meanings. So this is all something that is needed for this. This is actually, just to give you the hint, after all that we was talking in theory, this is how one description, for example, looks like. And imagine one basic record unit with all this material, and you have to consider and to investigate all this various information to provide something like this. So what then about how to define or how to implement intellectual control in practice? What about context on the font of the collection? What about how you will provide information for user? How they define the context? We have the element or the metadata description that is that is dealing with context. You can do it either in the text, you can describe it with 3 sentences or 35 sentences, for example, the context of some material. Although, especially dealing with digital platforms, this describing the context is now as much as ever before. It is done with keywords. Why? Because then in this, if you defined it in a separate data element, it can be used for searching and browsing material. If you did it in the form of the text, plain text, then it can be used, or it won't be retrieval in this way. So this is also that have to be taken into consideration. Administrative information is also something that can be very important, but this is have special importance if the creator of material you have is usually legal entity. So it is some public institution or organization or legal entity, then you will have to find more information regarding administrative use and administrative control over this record, and document some additional issues that maybe isn't so important for other type of the document. Administrative control also think that you have to define ownership of material, copyright of material. This is very important, although for use and reuse of material, do they have some restriction? Is it confidential material? Do you have it is under copyright or not under copyright? I think in artistic work it can be important, and it is also very important when we are speaking about ownership and copyright. Maybe it will be some additional information needed for use and reuse of this material. Is it under some financial obligation or some intellectual or some other obligation? And this is usually what is today determined when you put it all in digital form, especially if you publish digitized materials and publish it. One of the main issues that archives have today problem with is this copyright and ownership issues. Are you allowed, if you are institutions that hold some material, put it in digital form and for further use or reuse, or it is under some copyright protection and then you don't have right to reuse it in this way. The basic result of description of archival materials is something called finding aid. Finding aid is usually inventory or list. It can be it can be cards or any type of inventory or guide that can be provided, that will be used then for further reuse of this material, and it will be tool for all those seeking to use this material. Today, of course, there are not just classical finding aids. Sorry, this was this yellow-red. I just didn't find a way to put it away. But today, when we're speaking about descriptive tools and about finding aids, they came in digital way. You can find something called archival information system or databases or repositories or multi-repository guards or all type of digital forms, which have, on the other hand, on one hand, they have same data element as they have in classical or is printed finding aids, but you will also find many more issues here in digital world that you won't be able to face, or you don't find it in classical finding aids, especially in inventories. There are many online examples of how to came to materials today for all the GLAM institution for archives as well, it should be precondition to have some type of online access to your material, at least to list of fund of collections. So maybe if you are not digitized all your material, or it is impossible to put all materials online, but what is important to have finding aids and information about material online. So description of material, inventories, list, everything dealing with material, if not digitized material itself. There are various really platforms and portals, from special archival portals, archival systems, to cultural heritage materials like Europeana, various thematic portals. I give you some example, but then you have national portals like, I don't know, Hungaricana or Gallica or eCulture now for Croatia. Then you have various heritage platforms. There are a million of things called digital libraries or digital collections. And regarding names of this type of portals or finding aids or digital platforms, I don't know how to call it, you will find it under another names. And it can be, some of them came from archival world, some of them are created outside the archival world, but usually you will find a different when you see the descriptive element or metadata. Usually this is the first difference that we choose. So for compiling a finding aid or to have some product of your description, how we will make it, this is the basic information the idea is to provide about provenance of the material, about order and organization of material you did, what is physical condition of materials. For example, are these paper are in good condition, are they damaged, are these photographs in color or black and white or something like that. What is the scope of context of materials, so, and all the other important data. For this is some basic question that you can use to identify provenance of the material. Who did it? What business function? Who is responsible for the creation? Find out something about names, name of the author or record creator, institution created, what was the dates, what was the functions, what is the sources when you find this material. So all this information can be very important to identify all this provenance. Then all the other information that is derived from processing material. As I told you, archivist or documentarist or any other information expert or any other expert who did it. Why you choose to order it, to make the order and organize it like it is. What if you rearrange something? What is about, what physical accent you used? Are you make item level description or series level description? Put all the processing information available and put it in this record dossier. So what is the question when you think about making the content? What activities, what functions, settings, location, time period, what is addressed in this material, what are the products? So basically there are many questions that you have to think about when you think about how to provide definition about content of material. And finally, there are many descriptive standards. This is when, sorry, I see now that I need to put some other issues here. There are international Council of Archives descriptive standards. For archives, this is basically principles, but there are also some other like encoded archival description, RAD rules that came from Canada, some other well-spread system which are driven from national landscape, but also are international use. There are some other type of standards like European data model or descriptive data models which are used, Dublin core material which are used for digital objects, not taking in mind the provenance of the record. Does it come from archives, from a library or museum? So this is all something that can be the base of the work that you do. So just quick going on around this descriptive standard. It is available in various languages. All these standards are available online with examples and translated to many languages. Basic material for description is ISAG. So this is the combination of elements for describing material. There are 26 basic elements, which provides all this information that we are speaking with. So this is how it looks like. This is the purpose of this edition. Some general rules and some specific rules. So this is these 6 basic areas and how elements, descriptive elements, are defined, and what is anonymously chosen from archival community. So which are the basic element that is important to uniquely identify or describe some archival level. Then there is also another standard which is also widely spread, and this is a standard for archival authority. And this is about basically description of record creators, about institution or people or families who made or create some documents and basic information about them. And this is important for providing context of this record. This is basically also some of the elements, how it looks like. And there are 2 more standards that are following this basic 2. One is about functions, so describing the function, what is the function of some institution, which is also very important for the context of record creation. So if some administrative body or institution in charge for, I don't know, higher education, or somebody is in charge for culture, somebody is in charge for driver licenses, somebody is in charge for building, for buildings and providing documents about that. So basically is how you can find all the records related to this. And then also one very good standard that is widely spread, and this is basic description of institutions with archival holding. This is actually very good and standard which are quite also used from various professional community, because it's really quite good to explain some basic information about institutions that hold material. That doesn't have to be archives, so you can have archival collection or material in library, in academic institution, in theater, in hospital, in university, or everything else. But this is basic information about this institution and what type of archival record or collection it looks like. It can be records about from the same sector when the institution hold. For example, we are in Institute of Ethnology and Folklore here, and they have huge archive and documentation about ethnological research. So this is what is the main characteristic of their collection. Institute for History of Art have the huge collections which were gathered from the perspective of then activities. For example, we have many examples in universities. They collect materials which are connected with the area or sector on the field from which they were detected. For example, even in Zagreb, in Croatia, you have Academy of Fine Arts or Academy of Dramatic Arts. Academy of Dramatic Arts have huge collections of the films made by their students, because they have the student of Regia, directing, and they have, for their work, they have to provide some materials, and they have collection of such material. Also, student of fine arts also provide some material during the process of their education. So all this collection, although something is collected from projects, something is called from, I don't know, actual work they do, something is collect, for example, they have famous professors who were respected in some field, and they collect materials from their area and they donate it. So you can have various type of collection, not just in archives, but in other types of institution. It will be this specialized archives group. So you will find this standard very useful to describe all elementary information about the institutions, plus the records they are holding and which are collected additionally, which is not maybe expected to find in this institution. Let me put it in this way. So basic issues connected with these standards. So they are not in same in use, and they repeat some elements. And this is why the new standard is word in progress in archival world, the record in context, which idea is to revise and to connect all these four standards, but this is work in progress. So this is what we'll be dealing with next time. And now we are coming to some examples after so many theory, and maybe this is now for a little break or question time.
Are there any questions before we take a half an hour break?
It will be just examples from now on. Hopefully from you also. Everybody drop dead after all this theory.
Okay.
This is
If
too much
it's easier
for
for you, you can also write questions in the comments in the chat section. Gordana, you have a question?
Yeah, I have one question. So you know that we just uploaded on Euroca's website the whole digitized archive of the festival, and all this material on which basis we made this digitization in analog form, in the form of CDs, DVDs, I'm going to give to an institution.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we lose you.
So how do I prepare it to make the job of, oh, how, are there any standards, any grids, how to you fill in the information?
Basically, I would like very much to use your examples in the
information about the festival.
Okay.
I am losing the connection.
Yes, sorry, we a little bit loose. So basically, the Iraq is a very good example of those that we are speaking about. I presume that Eurocas is one archival font. I will use it. So this is Film Festival, if I'm not mistaken. Is it basically the film festival? What is the legal regulation about Eurocas? Is it defined as some
it's a theater festival
or enterprise?
It's a theater festival, not film. No, it's artistic organization.
It is theater. I also is artistic organization. Very good. So you are in this group, record creator. So Eurocas, for example, will be one organic unit. Inside this Eurocas unit, you have, as I remember, you said you have all this material, but you have yearly festivals and events.
Chronologically.
Also, so this one series. Chronologically, very good. So this will be one series which you will describe, and you have for all a year you have some material. And the other type of documents I can presume that you have is Eurocas. It's also some administrative document about Eurocas work. For example, I don't know, you have some donations and contracts or cooperation agreement, I don't know, with television maybe to tape something, or with somebody, some other institution to help you organize it something, or not. Or I don't know, maybe you don't have such materials, or maybe you have just material connected with concrete programs and projects.
Yes,
but
because I
this
think,
is
you know,
basically you have to.
Wait, I'm losing
Yes,
connection.
please say.
For example, I don't think that, for example, correspondence and such documents as contracts and things, do you think they are important enough to be included in the collection I'm handing over?
But
I don't know.
You are the record creator. For archivists, is it important? Because the archivist, the idea of if you want to preserve something as archival material, then the idea is, yes, this is of some importance. We want to preserve information as a whole. I don't know, you know, because you are inside, you are a record creator. I don't know, as archivist, isn't important. Was it important to also save the information, not just about artistic production, but also about functioning of this institution or film festival? I don't know, for other artists or for those that came from performing art sector, maybe it is to also to see how it was, I don't know, financed through the years or organized. I don't know who were the directors, who were program committee, how was the, I don't know, cooperation with other institutions or organizations. I cannot know that. Only you can know that. Only record creator can know. We have some. We have from perspective of state archives, of public archives, we know and we have the list that we are using classification lists, how to define, which help us define what will be, I don't know, keep permanently, what will be keep 5 years or 7 years. So it's not important to keep permanently. For special archives collection, it is really up to some institution to define, is it important or not important, or will be as from information and documentation perspective. Yes, I would say it is important to try to keep information as a whole. For me, only to see, for example, for some film festival, or now I see there are, yesterday it was opening of the Dubrovnik Summer Games, so 75 years. In these 75 years, there are also some administration behind it, not just artistic work.
Program booklets, you know, such things.
For example. So, from this documentary perspective, information perspective, I will say, yes, try to keep information as a whole.
I would also maybe, if I can, like to comment.
You are somebody who is from inside and work all this,
yes.
So please, it will be very useful. Thank you very much, Erwin.
Yes, well, I won't comment about my work in the theater, but I would like to comment what is my experience currently with the new law regarding archival materials. And I would say the big problem in Croatia is regional inconsistency, because regional state archives have different, I would say, policies regarding the institutions which are making archival materials. In my experience, for example, since I live in Rijeka and work in Croatian National Theatre, Ivan Plemeniti Zajec in Rijeka, our regional archive has one approach towards institutions and towards educating employees how to make archival lists, which you've previously mentioned that you have that general list issued by State Archives of Rijeka, which can help someone to make a list of their archival materials in their institution. And for example, in Rijeka, archivists in other institutions, which make those lists, they have, I would say, more freedom to adapt that list as they should, because, for example, in the theater, that general list of State Archives of Rijeka really helped me to see which are the deadlines to preserve certain types of documentations and so on. But I also have specific documentation which is related just to theaters. But for example, in one other region, I won't name it. I was doing some part-time job, and I was engaged in archival materials for one high school, and in that region, policies and advices are totally different. And I had to basically copy-paste that list of State Archives of Rijeka. I had to copy-paste it completely, and that was that archival list for that high school. So in that case, someone who is producing archive list of materials in that high school doesn't have any kind of freedom to adapt it to their own materials and how that employee found that archive materials in high school. So first, I mean, in this period, I would say that big problem is inconsistency in the policies between regional state archives. In my own opinion, I believe that this approach from Rijeka is much more applicable, because we have a lot of institutions, and those institutions have all the institutions have in general the same types of archival materials, but also they have something that is really special inside of that institution. And I would say that archivists should have such freedom, but unfortunately in some parts of Croatia, in some regional archives, I noticed that that development of archives lists has become a copy-paste procedure.
Yes, okay, I can, from my knowledge about Croatian archival service, I can 100% agree with you on this, but this is actually also related to some other issues regarding national archival services. For example, in Croatia, we have some other issue concerning archival professionals or archival community, because basically there are network of state archives and national state archives networks, a network of public archives, while unfortunately on other types of archives like special archives are really, during the history, it was outside this network and there were no engaged professionals. And the archival service basically didn't pay so much attention of all materials which not came from public administration. Public archives in all countries are basically focused on public administration institutions. Usually in Croatia, you know, we have problems like it is. There are no storages, there are no people, there are no space. So focus is on public administration, and all other cultural institution, high education institution, schools, other types are not so much in focus. So every regional archive is dealing with this with own way. So one of the issues here, and this is something in this direction was changed in the new archival law, is that it will be fostering or registration of special archives. The other issues is also that you see there is much easy to have some list and some guidelines for administrative documents, because they are basically the same in every institution. These specifics, material in theater and material, I don't know, in schools, or material in hospitals, or material in sport organization or in institute. So which these specifics, which is orientated towards this institution works. So this specific is which makes institution different. Administrative and financial documentation is typical on the other sense, so it can be very much easier replied some regulation about how to deal it, what material to choose, what material to keep, what to put away, and something like this. But unfortunately, we don't have, from my point of view, this is why I intend to choose you all these ICA sections that you see the variety of archives and these differences between various type of archives and various set of documentation are really generally shown. It's just not shown in Croatia because unfortunately we don't have many information professionals, documentaries, archivists, curators who work with these collections and materials outside the archives, and which will be very useful to have really professional dealing with documents and materials, I think, in every institution that collect and keep archival material. From my point of view.
Yes, thank you for for the information. Also, I can give one more comment regarding the specific role of archivists in other institutions. That is also, I would say, a certain problem because such employees have all sorts of other duties besides managing archives. So in my case, I have to manage a complete documentation of the theater, and during the years I've been working there, I had less and less time to really do what I'm supposed to mainly do, and that is managing archives. So that is one other problem in Croatia, I would say.
Yes, but this is basically the same issue because we don't have a tradition among our profession. So I think this is the basic problem of archival profession, that outside state archives, for example, if we compare it to libraries, maybe it will be easier. You have special libraries and you have libraries in various institutions, I don't know, in hospitals, in schools, in institutions, and they hire librarians to do this work.
Yes.
You have archives and registration offices in almost all institutions. They don't hire archivist or documentation professional or institution professional to do work with documentation, archives, collections, but usually somebody non-professional. So this is how it then reflects. The other is also, which is also because of regulation in Croatia, in our archival law and other regulations, that you don't have to have professionals. So if you don't have to have it, then people wouldn't put it in their list of employees. Why to hire somebody with high education and professionals with something you don't need it? And this is why usually these people also work with, I don't know, they work with as documentaries or have some other alternative. For example, I know that I'm now working university archives. So this is quite different than you work in state archives. And besides taking care of archives, you have to deal with documentation, record keeping systems. I don't know, many other issues that are not just archives, but going outside the archives. So this is also, I think this is much more than regulation and tradition than of in national context than in just in other professions. Because, for example, actually, when I go to some professional meetings all around, when there are people from, I don't know, religious archives or special archives or academic archives, you can see the difference in different countries, that people are really hire professionals there, and they are really find out that having archivist or documentation specialist or data manager or however they call it, or curator, is something that helps the institution, that you use your resources better, that you can find more users with this, or it can be, I don't know, use your material for dissemination or marketing or research or providing new project or something. I for example, don't see that in Croatia abroad somebody see archives as values or archives as
Yes,
resources, or archives as potential, or archives that can be used for, I don't know, education or project or spreading knowledge or work with users.
Yes, and there is a stereotype in Croatia that such jobs we have to manage archives are basically jobs for high school education. I mean, I don't have anything, of course, against someone who has finished high school, but most institutions see it as a simple job, which is not necessary for someone who has a certain college degree. So that's also one stereotype.
Yes, but this is, I agree completely. This that unfortunately I think have to be solved, have to be put input from archival profession, that this is profession that really you have to know about, I don't know, managing information, have specific knowledges like librarians or curators or any other professions, that you really have to have some training and knowledge and skills to do it in the right way, like it's outside, and we have the programs for it, but unfortunately we don't have that institutions recognize the importance, why it's important to manage your records and your documentation and your collections well, and how it can be used. And again, I said, to be a resource for the institution that have it. So
should we take a short break now just to try to stick to the schedule and maybe take 15 minutes pause instead of a half an hour? And after that, please, if you have some examples also from your practice, some questions about, for example, guidelines for enriching this professional official standards, how to approach this process, whatever you have on your mind, we can continue with that in 15 minutes.
Any examples of your holdings or some description or inventory or digital platform or your project or virtual collection, it will be very useful. I think it's the best to comment on your material and to see the examples of your material.
Okay, so please grab a coffee or lunch and see you in 15 minutes.
Okay, see you. Part that you introduced yourself with few words, and then maybe we will have some more information about what examples to find out and how to use it. Please.
Okay, so I'll start then because I just joined. Hello, I'm Ester Saboreznak. I'm a Hungarian theater historian, mostly working on 19th century, social history of 19th century theater. And recently at the Institute of Literary Studies of the Hungarian Research Network, where I'm currently a fellow, we started a project together with the archive of the Hungarian theater in Cluj, Romania, to work on a project together. Our institute has an online database, and we started to, which usually until now it had mostly literary examples or projects from the field of literary studies. This is our first theater-related project, and the very first thing that we did was we found some amazing documents in these archives. For example, costume designs from the 1950s to the 1980s. And the first, we decided to start with this. We digitized them, and my colleague, who is not able to be here today, she works on the database and creating the whole structure for these theater costume designs with all the metadata that we could find. I'm mostly on the theoretical or theater history side of the project. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is our current project now.
Is it possible to yet to see the structure of this database, or to find it online, or it is still work in progress?
It is still work in progress, but hopefully soon we will be able to.
Maybe it will be very nice for some future workshops, maybe just to provide, I don't know, 2 slides about the structure or the metadata you choose. I mean, in this context of the topic that we discuss here, it will be very nice to see.
I actually think that I can show you like a screenshot of the structure when my colleague sent it to me. I'll just look for it now. Maybe until then someone else can present. Thank you.
Anyone else? Just a quick introduction. Gordana, you're
trying to unmute me. I managed. Okay, I'm Gordana Vnuk, director of Eurocas, which was a festival from 87 to 2013. Now it's a producing house, so it made the transition from a festival to production. And we digitized basically the archive of the festival, 27 festival editions. It took us 1 year, and we just uploaded it on our website. And I presented this digital archive already twice, I think, in the conferences. And maybe Anna Maria, you can put a share screen on the, I don't know, on the link, so just to have a glimpse of how this works. I always mentioned the biggest problem was the different formats in which these archives was saved, from analog formats from the early years to CDs, DVDs, videotapes, and so on. So we had to work through all these formats and move the content to the contemporary standards. So now it's finished, and now I have half of a room full of these archives in an analog form, a lot of registers, albums, posters, and so on. And I have so I'm now actually arranging with State Archives to hand it over in the autumn. I will probably work with the archivist on while showing him. Unfortunately, there is only a Croatian version. For the English version, we need additional money, so we didn't have it at the moment. So this was connected to my question earlier. How do I make this material? How do I make? What's the terminology used? Indexation to make the archivist work easier. So what kind of data I should put? I mean, it's so different. A lot of things were lost. So sometimes we don't have even the title of who is in the performances. We don't have certainly the names of photographs and photographers. So there are lots of open questions, but I hope to solve it. Yeah, that's it. So basically, I'm interested in how to these standard forms, how to put a festival archive, which has so many different shows in many different disciplines. So it's not, you know, like you have a grid. For example, what I saw in a book of repertory theaters in Zagreb Theatre Institute, So they have a grid, you know, author, director, actors, and so on. But many of the performances, due to their nature, you don't have this authors. You know, you have collective work or you have multidisciplinary. So there is no text. So basically, what kind of grid to write in the information I should use? So that's an open question. Anyway, I won't bother you with this, but this is something I have to discuss in person with archivists. Okay, so that was me.
Okay, thank you, Gordana. Drinka, she sent us a message via chat. She said that her mic doesn't work. She's a research assistant at the Department of Information Sciences at the University of Zagreb, and topic of her PhD thesis is about documentation of theater and performance art in Croatia. So yes, this is the really close topic to her research, and it's great to see you here. Drinka? Maybe Cecile?
Okay, I can introduce myself. I'm Edwin Micetic. I work as an archivist in Croatian National Theatre. Ivan Plemeniti Zajc.
Yourself, yeah.
Sorry. Is someone, I don't know if someone else wanted to introduce himself or herself. I'm hearing someone in the background.
Oh,
okay.
I think everyone else is muted, so you can continue.
Okay. Okay, to repeat again, I'm Edwin Micetic. I work as an archivist in Croatian National Theatre, Ivan Plemeniti Zajc. In short, I can maybe just share a link of our digital database. I will put it in chat. And I can say that's probably the most challenging thing to me in my work is producing a database of all theater plays from 1946 until today. That is the case in my theater because in our archive storages we have materials from 1946 until today. And basically the most challenging thing is definitely to have a decent and wide database of all plays in that period. I've been basically doing this for the last 5 years on and off because I don't have, as I mentioned before, I don't have much time to focus just on archives because I also have other work. But those databases were challenging because I had to invent the form of databases myself. They are currently in Microsoft Word, and it's a list of tables which are in alphabetical order, and each table has different data inside of it. I can share, so maybe someone can take a look at this. I don't think this is something that I would characterize as modern. I think other solutions, just a second. I think other solutions are of course possible, but the biggest issue with that are finances, of course. My plan was to make a digital database. I mean, to put all that data on our webpage, but in the end, the conclusion was from people who decide whether it should go online or not, that this kind of project would be financially demanding and that our public wouldn't really be so interested in that. So basically, for now, this is just something intern that I'm using to make my work easier. And in my opinion, at least in Croatian theaters, I believe that this is the starting point of every, I would say, good archive, because this data is the basis of any research of archival description, because photographs and video videos of stage plays, and I would say the other documentation from the past. It all has its basis in that kind of data, of course. And I'm just following tradition, because in Croatian theaters, I believe that the same thing were, as we call them, repertoire books. These books hold materials from each theater season, but they are, of course, printed out, and all sorts of materials are put in such books. They're collected inside of one theater season. I believe this is just a modern approach with data inside of computer, of course. And I believe that it can be much more, but for me, that is basically the biggest issue when it comes to archives in the theater, such database.
Thank you. Thank you. We will get back to the analysis of your examples
Yes, it's very
later.
nice.
It's really interesting and great work. And just to hear a quick introduction from maybe Bethany or Cecile, Mariana wants to go first. Bethany.
I don't mind. Hi everyone. So I'm Bethany. I'm a PhD student at the University College London in the UK. And I work within the Information Studies department at the moment. So my research looks at from both archives and the users, and how we build in databases and how we kind of evolve and work and build new resources for both, that cater for both. So yeah, I'm just finishing up my PhD. So yeah, it's nice to hear the archive perspectives as well as the user perspectives, and how we work and negate that kind of pathway for both.
Is your research story based on researching current databases, or maybe you introducing some new model or concept or something?
So I'm not, because when I started it, it was during the pandemic, so we had to really condense down my PhD. So we wasn't able to create a new database or create a new resource, but it's kind of looking at the two discussions from different perspectives and bringing them discussions together and saying, how do we find a common ground between the user and the archivist, and what's presented in new resources. So thinking about, as you are thinking about your databases and how they're going to be used by people, but also how we can develop them from the archivists, which are going to be beneficial to them as well. So yeah.
Cecile?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm a researcher in Latin American performing arts. And I started working about how to archive theatrical or performing arts records because during my PhD, I've been working on Uruguayan playwright archive. And the idea was to enhance this archive. And at that time, we thought at the beginning about publishing a book. But we thought it was better to publish online his archive, as we were working with the owners of his fund. So we decided to put online all this material, but we didn't expect in a way we had to work with archivists, which was a pleasure, to tell the truth. So we started working with the archivist of the library of the University of Lille, where I was working before. And we decided to use a model for describing the data we had. At the beginning, we used the EAD model. And finally, when we got a project funded by the French National Agency of Research. We decided to use Dublin Core model with the how do you call it, the Dublin Core set, with only 15 category of descriptions. And after that, now we are working with more categories, which are the DC terms, which can allows us to describe more precisely the archives we are working on. So I can show you, send you the link of the platform we built up about 7-8 years ago for this Uruguayan playwright. And all the data is described with the Dublin Core set. But now we are working more with the Dublin Core DC terms. And I'm working at the moment about how to enhance the work or the artistic work of theatrical director of my region, so the southwest of France, because we can get, well, to tell the truth, because we can get funding from our region, and so it's a good thing, but also because it was interesting to me to work on all those materials that are building those directors. Because if we don't archive those material, they will be lost. Because, for instance, they put on stage a play of Molière or of Shakespeare, but they don't. So it's well, an ephemeral work. But we don't have any trace of it. So the idea is to collect the material they are creating, recording as much as we can the performances, and to describe all the elements with DC terms, with the metadata schema with DC terms, and to put this material online using services that are offering the French national infrastructure in digital humanities. That was not existing, but that was existing, but those services were not existing about 10 years ago. So, so it's, well, it's step by step. We are improving our method and our reflection, but that's where I am at the moment with other research questions I'm working on.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Cecilia. And for the end, Mariana.
Yes, I wanted to be at the end because maybe I'm not really, I cannot be part of this group because I'm not in archiving anything concerning theaters or theatrology, but my research interests are metadata and digital libraries as a whole, although I'm much more interested in, I'm focusing on digital libraries of manuscripts, all printed books, watermarks, and things like that. So when you, concerning metadata, then the type of the material you are archiving, of course, differ. But the metadata is always something that concerns me a lot. So that's why I wanted to participate in this, and that's why I'm following your project results and the project activities. So that's all. And of course, because I'm teaching that stuff to the students and the faculty, so it's very useful for me for that sense. But I'm not involved in archiving any material concerning theaters.
Okay, thank you. So now we all have introduced ourselves.
Excuse me, sorry, in the meantime, I've found a few shots that I can show you.
Yeah, feel free to show us.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Maybe you don't have the, I'm not sure if you have the access. Can you share the screen or?
Yeah,
Oh.
I think can you see it?
Great.
So this is the starting page. It will be bilingual, Hungarian and English. Here it is, now we only have the Hungarian version ready, so we'll make the English one later. It's based on Wikidata, the structure of our database. We have information about like all the information that we could gather about these costume designs. We'll have the photos as well, where it is found, who's the author of the play, what genre it is, what kind of paper it's on, with what kind of technique it's made, collage or drawing or whatever, the creator of the costume, the director of the play, the actors participating in the play, the size of the design, and so on and so forth. And this is the main structure of it. This one is kind of an abstract, like it can be the literary text, which is based on, or the dramatic text. Then we have the script. This can be enriched later because we have different kind of scripts. We have the copy of the director, we have the copy of the actor, the copy of the prompter, which all differ a bit. And then under this, we have the show or the theater performance itself. Sometimes we even have photos of that. And under that, we have the costume designs. And sometimes, I mean, we have the photo of the design itself, and sometimes we have actors in the ready-made, finalized costumes. So,
can you just please go to the up of the?
Sorry,
I was just wanted to ask you: is it this level, this description that you show us with this element? Is it for each costume, or do you have? If you can go up, so thank you. This is for, since I don't know Hungarian so well, is it for concrete costume?
yes, yes, yes.
And do you have maybe some description for collection as a whole? Or this is all on item level? So for each costume, this is the
yes, exactly.
That you use for each costume, if I'm
for each costume, yes. We have one exactly like this for each costume of each play. We have like 94 plays and 1,700 costumes or something like. These are the numbers.
Okay, and you did, okay, this is, if I understand well, this is database created as a separate project. But did you maybe consider to make some collection level description, or is it this all costumes came from the same collection from one
yes,
one theater?
Yes, these all come from the archive of the Hungarian theater of Cluj in Romania. So these are all costume designs made for the productions of this theater from the 1950s to the 1980s. This is just one collection.
Yes, and physically, I presume so. This is one of the collections that is held in the archives, like costumes, for example.
Exactly. Yes.
And maybe if I can suggest, it will be nice to have, beside this very analytic list of elements that you provide here, but maybe would you consider to do some collection level description for each collection? For example, collection of the costumes would be very nice. I don't know how it starts, how the theater start this collection, time period which is kept, how many numbers of these, do they have any, I don't know, policy about using them, or how can somebody consult this. Now you will pay funding aids. This is this database.
Yes, thank you. We will definitely have to make this. I mean, it will be probably me who will have to write this. The thing is, if I may just say one more sentence, this is a state-funded theater, and the collection is part of the theater. So it's a public collection, but it's a collection that a few researchers know, so it's not really public. And my goal is to now, for 2 years, the collection, or a huge part of the collection, is in boxes because they're renovating the building where it is. And my big goal is, besides the digital database, we have an analog project here. After the renovations are finished and everything is unboxed, I feel that we have to start from the beginning, the whole like analog structure of this archives, and we have to really think it through how to how to make it in a professional and knowledgeable way, and how we can really open it for the public.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I can now maybe start with few examples that we wanted to show you. Just a moment. So I have few examples. We can also start with this one, hoping that you see. I tried to find some examples of various collections that I could find online about theatrical archives from the archives. I think I even managed to find out some different examples. One is from institution, one is for some association. I think this one, you will probably know better than me. This is run by one institution. And for example, you can see here example of one archive. So they say here, you see in the beginning, they have over 1 million items. This is some basic explanation what type of materials they have: posters, programs, photographs, lighting plans, set and custom design scripts, audio and audiovisual files, administrative records, and other material. So as we speak about, so this is, for example, example of one theatrical archive. I presume this is institution, and they have all these various types of material that we're speaking about. They have, as I see, some databases, and you see here they allow this database to be searchable with few elements: name of the play, people, character, year. For example, this is the examples. And they have here some digital project that you can see here. So if we try to, I just randomly choose something to see what is here and how this is described. You will now help me, please. As I see, this is one, understand this is one play. This is the authors of their play. This is so night of performers, and they have the example date number of performances, and they have some authority records. Here are the people who were in some kind collected with this play. This is how I know somebody who don't know anything from art. I see it, and this is the place where it is. This was performed. So this is the elements or metadata or whatever they choose to describe this play. As archivist, I really cannot find the elements from any standard here. I recognize the name of the play. This is the authors, this is the time of performance. So this is all the names of people who were actor or assistant director or roles of responsibility. And they have all the elements. They are not structured, and they could be titled or organized according to some of the basic standards. For example, they are not, but although I can find the tracks here, so they choose the elements which are important for them to search and manage this archive. And I presume this is a type of metadata or elements which is important for all such type of the archives: name of the play, name of the people, and year where something is performed. So you can now help me. Is it yes, true? This is important. Would you choose different? Do you like this type of?
I can maybe give one small comment. Probably this is more known to people who actually work as an archivist in the theater. A lot of, I would say, queries that I receive are from our Institute of Lexicography, Miroslav Krleža. So a lot of those queries are related to the number of roles from specific actor, actress, singer, and so on, and those are basically queries which are related to statistics. For example, how many plays did someone perform, or how many times did a certain play performed, and for that kind of queries, I believe that much wider database is necessary, at least for internal use. For such databases which are available online for visitors of the website, I believe it's perfectly fine. But for internal use, or for such queries which are, I would say, more demanding, and where you have to really have wider data, I believe it's much more complex, I would say.
Yes, I think so. There are elements of information here, and this is standardized in the terms that this database has the same description, but the elements of these metadata elements are really not in accordance to any of these standards data models that we see. Although there are a lot of information here that we can find out. But so the structure and organization of information, I think from this point of view, it can be really something that needs work.
Bethany, raise her hand.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you were saying, just a minute ago. I think it depends on how you look at it and who's using this. So from my own research, this is what the researchers want. They want that kind of initial, be able to find the actors, the things that they recognize in terms of their own language and how they communicate. So like the people within it, the choreographers. I'm coming from a dance perspective, so I'd be thinking about the choreographers, the works and things like that, which they can easily recognize. So it does make it accessible in that sense, the archive accessible. But in terms of an archivist, archivists and who are looking at this, it's not going to compete with any of the standards. It's not going to have any of the metadata. But I don't think that's what users want in that sense, because in my own experience and from my research, I know that that's the part when users are coming to these databases, they decide not to use them because they can't understand the archival structure or language, which is it's such an oxymoron in that sense, because you're trying to cater for the archivist, but then you're also trying to cater for the user. So it's like, where do you sit? Where do you draw that line in terms of that? So I think, yeah, I agree. It's definitely, I think this seems like a very new database that's trialing how they get the users to interact with it. But yeah, there's still got to be a lot of more depth to how it relates to what records they actually have in terms of within that archive.
And I would also add that it's really challenging in the theater to combine your different archival, excuse me, just a second. It is challenging in the theater to make a structure of archival marks on materials, because you have to have a good basis to be able to find photographs, videos, all sorts of theatrical cards from one play. And especially it's challenging when the same play was performed many times during different periods. So that structured archival marks which you put on analog materials and that are all put in your system, which you use to find all those materials, it has to have a basis. So, of course, this is a nice example of digitization project. But I would say that in theaters, especially in large theaters, which have great tradition, it is really challenging to make our archival description, which can be used on different archival series of those materials.
This is exactly something that illustrates all the things that we are talking about. So this is one very useful finding aid to this database, and you all agree that have its users. So it has its public and it has its purpose. This is orientated toward researchers, not toward, I don't know, general population or somebody like that. So if those who did it addressed very well, they targeted user groups, and if they find it useful, so then it's very good finding aid. And all these elements can be reused for other purposes and for other platforms, and restructured to show for all other purposes when you make good work on content. So if all these data are correct, and this is huge quantity of information, so there are promises and there are perspectives to be used further, and having also this as one specific finding aid for specific target groups, for specific target user groups, which are these elements that you are here shows that is very important for all those who are in this work: people, characters, place, and all this, as you said here.
I just wanted to say something very briefly. At the very beginning of the workshop, Vlatka mentioned a Slovenian theater director, Samo Strelec. He has an example, or he and his work is an example of a good practice, a combination of using standards and of thinking about users and public. It is a portal, Slovenian portal for theater as a whole, with all kinds of data. I will just share the link in the chat. This portal is supported by the Slovenian Ministry of Culture, so it's really a national portal. It uses a Dublin core, and it really is approachable for different kinds of users. All types of the materials are interconnected, searchable through many complex facets, but at the same time, it really looks simple. So take a look at it. Unfortunately, in a month or so, we will maybe have again a workshop with him, but we already had one. It was only in Croatian, where he showed us all of the aspects of his portal, of his 2-year work as an independent stage director and researcher, and afterwards for 10 years or 15 years as a curator of this portal with the help with the funds of Ministry of Culture. So I will really strive to bring him to the international public, maybe to for him to make a workshop in English about all of the details and aspects of his platform. But until that moment, please take a look at this link and see what he has done.
So this is another example I find about very interesting type of special archives collecting with theaters. This is Theater Historical Society of America Day Archives. As you find out here, they said they have material or collection about 18,000 theaters or theater buildings. So this is one very special archives, which very specialized domain or theme. And they also have, as you see here, various types of material. So prints, photographies, blueprints, programs, books, newspapers, artwork, everything. And you can see they also organize the archives. So I was going through these finding aids. So I was interested for this. And here you can see the structure, what we were talking about. So this is something that can be short, like collection level description. You see, they made the structure of the archive. They organized the collection. This is this provenance that we are talking about. They organized their material in collection. You see some of this collection, this is, I don't know anything about these archives, but this is what I can conclude from looking and browsing this finding aid list. So you see, for example, this type of collection was made by one collector. So example of materials, they put all the collection compiled. So he was compiler, he was collector of these materials, and they made it as one documentary unit, one collection. It's made by his name. Also, this is criteria for some other collection. While on the other hand, you can see other type of collection, for example, magazine collection. So how they compile this collection, the idea was to put all the magazines on one place. So you can see the criteria how to start or building collection can be different. But they put some structure. So the first or postcard collections or negative collections or slide collections or theater file collections. So you see, they made some criteria. First, they so first they made the structure of the collections, and then it should be that they described each collection in detail. So this is, for example of one finding aid. You will see some background information. So this is the context. So content. So some about related materials, and then the list of these materials. So this is really one example of classical finding aids. So they digitized all, so now it's available online. But this is a real classical structure, which I really can just presume that archivists or documentalist specialists did all these descriptive tools and finding aids for this form. Do you have for this any comments? Next step can be, for example, so they have inventory for all this collection. Next step can be they digitized all this material record by record. But this is like some basic words. So they made the description on collection level and then make the list of sub-level that is of all the materials, all the records, documents that are held in one collection. And now it will be very easy to put it in various digital platforms or portals, and then just you can just connect every digitized object if they choose to do it with all these description elements. Questions? comments, please. You are the specialist for this material. It will be very useful to hear what you think about it. Useful, complex, good, bad.
I think it's a good starting point for process of digitization. Definitely, it's obviously classified. Someone was definitely working on this archival description, so I think it's a good basis for digitization projects.
So basically, as we are speaking for decades, I think, regarding digitization of holdings in GLAM institution, really it should be preconditions. Mariana will know maybe better than me, but it should be precognitions that first the material is described and arranged and processed, and then you go to digitization. First, you have some organization and some description and structure, and then like upgrading it with digitization of this object. Because if you don't arrange it first and just go digital without any, yes,
Cecile,
yes, please.
Cecile, please.
Yes, I just wanted to say that it's in our case we had to make the digitization at the same time we were making the description because in the case of we have to apply for a research funding, we've got a limitation of time. So sometimes, not sometimes, but when we had this project founded by the French National Agency, we decided to do it at the same time, digitization and also description. It's true that it can be complicated because you've got to be really well organized and know what you've digitized and make and after that found the image you need with the right document to describe it, but we had to do it at the same time. And also in our case for the documents we were working on, precisely yes, in my case it was the document from an Uruguayan playwright. There was an issue of preservation, so we had to digitize the documents before it could be destroyed by because it was not really old, but it could be destroyed for the environment conditions. And so it's true that sometimes you don't have the choice to do the both tasks at the same time.
I can agree with you, since we are all in lack of financing, and then usually when you find some money, then it's usually you collect it, put on inside that you can. So it's usually you got the money since digitization is in. This is like modern, and then you usually connect it with, you arrange it in the same time as digitizing, because this is the only way to find, to get the money to start work on something. So this is in practice for all of us. It is just in theory very nice, so theoretically it should be a process.
Yes,
but practically we are all since we are all in the situation, yes, it's actually it's not, you are not the only, your case is not, but I think general rule that usually when we try, when we got some finances or somebody got some finances, that put all inside and have to do all in the same time.
I can also maybe mention my experience with such projects. When we applied to a tender from Ministry of Culture in Croatia, the downside of such public tenders is that materials that you digitize need to be uploaded somewhere. So first problem is if you're entering into digitization project is that someone needs to, okay, first you have to have a good archival description, and you have to know which materials are should be digitized. And first problem is that somebody needs to do that, needs to scan all those materials, and usually that type of work isn't really possible to do while you have, as an archivist in the theater, all sorts of other works in progress. So we needed to outsource that for the project from Ministry of Culture. So another firm did the scanning for us. Next problem was that it was the thing I mentioned earlier. All those materials need to be online. So you need to find a website, you need to find hosting provider. And that is also expensive because the more you put digitized materials on the website, your hosting is getting more expensive. So the only solution was to choose certain service provider, and that was Icarus association, the subsidiary of that association in Croatia. So we managed to get for, I think, 330 euros per year. We managed to find the website where we can put our digitized materials, and that's the link I've shared with you.
Can I just ask, Vladka, I've heard that the State Archive will not in future accept collections if they are not digitized beforehand by whoever is giving the collection to the archive. Is this true?
Yes, actually, this is now regulated by the archival law, the actual archival law from 2018. They prescribed the obligatory digitization. Then this is true. It is obligatory for all public record creators, but I pre-assume that in practice, like Erwin said, it will be up from state archives to state archives. Are there all be unanimous in this, that no originals, just digital material? I don't know how it will be in practice. So actually not yet. But as far as legislation is, yes, this is now prescribed. And for public institution, yes, it's obligatory. And for a donation.
What about private donations? Yes.
This is what I told you. I really don't know how any archives will go in practice with this. Should it depends about from the region they come, or is how important is the donor or this private collection? I really don't have any inside information from archival service how this will apply in practice.
But how many people are there who are dealing with digitization? I mean, in the State Archive. I mean, somebody they need to do something.
If I can, okay, now I will stop this, that you see me. I will just say, if I can not to reply you in public. Now,
we'll drink a coffee. We have a coffee.
And especially when it's recorded, I would fight if I can hold this selection, and I will reply you later.
I understand.
Okay. I just said, as much as my knowledge is here, I don't think, and since I checked last time with a colleague from State Archives, I didn't find any digital archival material that is transferred in Croatian State Archives yet. So maybe it is, but we don't know. The public don't know, but this is, as far as I know, there are no digital materials still in archives. So we will see. But this is the question maybe for archives. Okay, but we can see this nice example. Sorry, yes, please.
That, Cecile wanted to say something. Feel free to comment.
Yes. Yes, many thanks. I just wanted to say that when I was talking about those services that were offering our national infrastructure for research in digital humanities, I think it could be something we or our working group suggest to DARIAH, because in those services we have for research in digital humanities, we can get a free space for storing our data, and also a free platform for visualizing our data. It's very basic, but I mean, it's a good thing for researchers in humanities. As we were saying, we don't have a lot of money. For instance, if I want to store my data in my university, I have to pay. I think those services that are French National Infrastructure for Digital Humanities is proposing, it could be also a proposal made by DARIAH, as I know that Humanum, it is the name of this French national infrastructure, is part of DARIAH. So if all European colleagues, and it's not an utopic, could get a free space for storing their data, and to have a free, it's not a website, but a free platform to visualize the data, it could be a good thing. I can send the name of this service. It's called Nakala, and the Nakala Press. And well, it's very useful for us, as we don't have this issue about how much it will cost me to store all my data and to make it visible. Okay, sorry, I'm going.
This is very big issue regarding digital archives and digital platforms. It's quite much more expensive than you just put your paper documents or materials in the shelves. So providing for resources, and not just for resources, but for maintenance, storage, everything.
Yes.
So it is very important and very vital when planning for some digital platforms, digitization, and IT support for this.
Actually, there is not. They don't really develop anything. I mean, if you want to develop those services, they always mention that we need to have researchers in computer science to develop those services. But when they think it's good enough for all the community, they integrate it to the services. To the services already existing. And for instance, for the moment, you are allowed to upload each document with its own metadata. So you've got to do it document by document, but a research team has developed an informatic code to upload all the collection of documents at the same time, and not to have it to do it once by once, document by document. So it's very useful when you have already described a big collection of documents and you want to upload it on one time on the storage of those services.
Yes, so all this, all such type of resources and infrastructure is very important. I will just briefly show you a few examples also and maybe it will be also good for some second part that will go, or hopefully for some future discussion. Of course, since English have nicest archives in the world from archival point of view, also I was not surprised when I find these theater and performance archives in the UK, and when I see it's the national collection, tralalala, of performing arts document and such going on. So this is this shows what I told you, this difference between various historical background of how the archival service was developed. We don't have this type of special archives practice here. As I told you, Western world does, so they have special archives of all kinds. So as you can see here, this is theatrical archives. It can be military archives or film archives or literary archives or whatever type of archives. And here you can see when this is done on different levels, such as which they supported by national level, how to run some special archives, what you can then, which is the result, and how this is carry on. When you see this platform, and you can see the collection and how it's look like and what you can find here. So this is wow. I cannot say I can here say just wow, but this is how it's one idea how this would like when you have support organization materials. You can organize it then by collection. You can with materials. I don't know. We can choose whatever collection here that you can choose. You can explore the collection. You see how everything is digitized. You can see the searching category. You can see the metadata elements. You see how many things you have here. So this is when you have serious organization and background and resources and infrastructure, what can be developed for those type of specialized collections and material. And this is this other example show when you do it like association or institution or something else. So
I would just say, just from the UK point of view, even though it says national collection there, it doesn't represent in lots of different collections across the UK. It's only one organisation's interpretation of the national, so it's quite ambiguous in that sense how they promote it.
Okay, thank you.
Just
thank you. You help us now. We feel better. It's not just with our country that is not.
No.
I was just speaking of course, from this. I really don't know about content of these collections, but from this archivist point of view, when you see, this description, read more object details, categories of description, how it's organized, how you see all these relations are here and work, and all this information are here with digitized material. So this is really very impressive from my point of view.
Yeah, it's a good marriage of but it's been a long time coming, this new platform. It's only been live for I think 2 years, and the one before that was very much the archive platform, where it was just the catalogue record, and they realized that people weren't engaging with it and they were still having more user questions.
This is really a very good good type of unrelational system or database. You see, as I see, there are many relations here. That you, for example, this costume or this object, or however record we call it, you can see it is connected with many categories, has many additional databases. So when you search it and browse it, you can see how somebody who did this description really put the effort here and make all these various relationships. And this is all additional elements that on the item level, archivist very often doesn't have time to do it, but from informational point of view, it is very useful because I will find, so in, I don't know, 10 or how many categories this object when I research and when I will find all these materials. So this is very good example how various data elements can be connected and how with various attributions computers really help with retrieval and with browsing information. So regardless of physical organization of this material with this kind of description, and if you have all these relational connections, you will find it really in all search and categories and field of research when you will go browse this collection.
I think that's the way the UK is trying to go at the minute. I mean, there's another project which is towards a national collection, which is looking at how we link up every collection within the UK. And that's kind of what I'm heading for, is in terms of, so I work with the Association for Performing Arts Collections, and that's where they're trying to build up their gathered collections and be able to do that. But yeah, the V&A do a great job in kind of really collecting that together and presenting it to the user in a usable way, I think.
So, and also,
sorry, just one comment about the Victoria and Albert collection. This was one of the archives that we actually looked at when we started to think about how to organize the descriptions of our costumes. And it's really inspiring, this whole interconnectedness. So this was one of the inspiration points. And just one comment for the previous point. Now it absolutely makes sense what you told me at the beginning about the description of the collection. Now we only have the costumes, but we will definitely have negatives. We will have different types of stage photographs and other types of photographs, and also this very extremely detailed finding aid from the previous archives. For us, it was actually a parallel thing to do. This part of the archives was absolutely uncategorized. There were no identifying numbers or anything on the costumes. So we did this, first we did this part and then started the digitization. And we also have these unique identifying numbers in the database. So if someone wants to look at it in real life, then he or she knows what unique identifying number these costume designs have, and they can just ask for it from the archivist.
Okay, so thank you. So this is also one more classical example that I wanted to show you. So this is also example of description of our archival font that I found. This is coming from America. So this is very, very archival classics. You see, this is classical font of an archival institution with very classical. So you can see here all the elements from archival descriptive standards, all these elements here as they should be, with additional subjects, which is added for digital purposes, with finding aids, with repository details. And here you can see this example of hierarchical level description. So you see in this one font, you have huge amount of series, so more than 20 series. And then you enter each series, and then in each series you will find additional items and records and documents. So this is really very classical archival description as typical archivist would do, and this is very good example of how archival, for example, for Gordana, how the Erocas font should look like this, for example, with this type of elements on font level and with this basic series that will be here, and then with listed items or documents in sub-series, whatever, however this is going on. So this is really one example that I would recommend you to see as a really typical archival description. and really very good example. And also something which is all around us. So this is Europeana. So in Europe, we are all orientated or connected on one or another way with Europeana. So this is example what we say of collaborative platform which gather materials from various types of institution. They also have thematic collections. So I put theater. Theater is one of thematic collections. And when you put theater inside, I think they show some about 80,000 hits. For example, I think it should be somewhere here. 504,000 results with topic if you choose theaters. This is also how you can additionally make search and browse. And if you choose here something, I don't know, whatever institution or whatever country we can go, and this you will see some other type of description, and this is this European data model description, which is on item level basis. But this is also all these needed elements that are needed, that your records or your digital materials be at least interoperable on this European level, or, for example, ready to aggregate in such collaborative platforms.
Gordana has a question.
Yes.
Yes, what you mentioned Eurocas. I would like to have, we don't have to do it now, have your feedback on our website, and how does it conform with archival standards, because we didn't have the standards in mind when we were doing it. We were like doing it mostly on the for our general Eurocas audiences, and we tried to have it like user friendly and basically, well, for researchers as well. But I don't know, we had a web designer who was actually influencing a lot how the information will be placed. Anyway, I would like to know your feedback one time.
No problem. If it will be the workshop number 2 and just with various projects, and I'm very glad that you all show some, you send now more examples, so we can gladly have some follow-up and comment and work on examples and various projects going on regarding theatrical collections. But it's up to Anna Maria. She's the work group coordinator, so it will be.
Yes, we will definitely dedicate entire sessions or meetings to this topic of maybe making it more archive-like and making it interoperable, and yes, making it possible to be aggregated by some bigger platforms. And with this, I would slowly try to wrap things up because we are running out of time. And just wanted to say before I give my word again to Latka, that what Cecile also mentioned and what this all is about, of this working group and this workshop today, is to see some of the possibilities, different perspectives for our future work as a working group, which is based on the idea of making large platform, or maybe of using DARIAH as a digital research infrastructure for humanities as well as arts, to make a platform for different types of collection theaters on national or international level, to see what are the possibilities. How can we use this resource that DARIAH gives us? So we as a working group will definitely do some things on our own, for example, establishing some kind of ontology, vocabulary, working on individual examples of collections of digital archives, platforms, registers of theaters, and so on, with this greater aim to finally visualize it or store it somewhere on a bigger level. So now I will give my word to Vlatka to say something for the end. And
okay, thank you first of all very much all for being here, and I'm very sorry for this boring archival theory in the beginning, but I would be really glad to discuss it on various examples, and I'm very glad that you are all interested in archives and ready to cope with archives, because I really think we need more special archives, and only the experts who are from these various field have this kickoff for various kinds of archives. So thank you once more. I will send the PowerPoint to Anna Maria, and she will share with you, and I will be very glad to get feedback of all of you if I can help you with some ideas or information and everything. It will be really my pleasure. And sorry if I said something wrong about theaters and performing arts, because I'm not at home here, but hopefully, I hope all your archives will be digital, available, used, and very popular in the future, in the nearest future.
Thank you, and I hope you found this useful. I will prepare all the materials soon, maybe next week, the entire recording of the workshop. It will be available on the Theatralia Google Drive. Don't worry about the access. I will share the link and make it available for everyone, each and every one of you to access it. I will also send in separate email if I will have time to do it before the recording is ready. Maybe these materials like PowerPoint presentations, some useful links, also Vlatka's email address, so you can ask her anything you like, anything that has remained unsolved, undiscussed, and so on. So thank you. This is not the end. This is just one out of many Theatralia workshops. So follow us. If you aren't already on the mailing list, I will send the link to join the mailing list in the email for all of the participants. And have a nice day. I really hope that you found this useful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thanks. Bye.
Bye.